I guess it's time for your uncle to properly introduce himself. I go by the name Snake Oil. Sound intimidating. But you see, my real name is Snake!
Snake oil.
Snake oil. Snake oil.
So Snake Oil started in our grade 11, 12 drama class. We all continuously yelled, Snake Oil, and made it a joke between us.
We were given free rein to make whatever we want. It was supposed to be a live performance, but we said, we want to make a film.
So Elijah and I wrote the script together, and we worked on it for quite a long time.
Up to that point, I had been making stop motion films in my bedroom, and I finally wanted to make a film because I had access to real people.
It's a great film. It's not greatly made. In fact, I think while two 16-year-olds wrote it, it should have been given to people with much better quality equipment and knowledge of filmmaking, because we were almost like not doing the script justice.
I remember while writing that thinking, we need a strong basis for this character to exist from, and I decided that injustice and fairness and being righteous was the right way to kind of go with that.
I think Ben's performance in the first Snake Oil really set the precedent for what we could do. Some of the way he delivers the lines in that monologue. And still, I'm like, that's a pretty kick-ass performance. Like, he really knocks some of that stuff out of the park.
East Clintwood, obviously, is a parody of Clint Eastwood. Physically, and especially in the first one, I am just doing facially the Clint Eastwood squint, but also because of how it was written and how it came about, I'm doing the joke of saying snake oil, because that was just funny for us to say, and that's where we got the name from. So he has to say it like that. So then I had to make a voice for other lines, so I had to create a weird mix of I do declare with like a bit of Clint Eastwood sort of thrown in there. What I found quite difficult was later on in others, it's a little more serious. The challenge was, how do I bring how do I bring a real human being into what is essentially just a silly voice? Larger than life character, but then again, in the Old West, there was larger than life characters who had silly voices. I have written Snake Oil films, but I wouldn't have been able to do that if what happened in that first Snake Oil wasn't just so tightly packed with so much and such deep themes of justice and family and brothers and violence and taking on the system, but also taking off the Western.
The story grabbed us in the end. We all were very passionate about it and what we could do with these characters in this setting. And you don't see Westerns a lot anymore, but for us to explore that, I think we gave ourselves enough room to really play with it after the fact. And now here we are, of course.
Our father was a great man. You know that. Elijah's speech there, it's just so deep, and it's so heavy, but it was written by Ben and Elijah, like two 16-year-olds, and they're having this guy, like this villain, talking about his father and like all the good things he did. It's so nuanced. It sort of sparks the tone of Snake Oil, where it is funny and it's silly, but and then it's like about this real family drama, this real strife. When we made the first Snake Oil, Elijah and I had two very loose production companies that we were putting on the starts of some of our films we were making. We combined them as well, so it says that the first Snake Oil is also made by Shwing Entertainment.
Shwing Entertainment! Shwing Entertainment! Shwing Entertainment! Shwing Entertainment!
I don't know how it became so embedded in our daily vocabulary, but anytime, originally it was how they use it in Wayne's World, which was anytime anything sort of turns them on or remotely sexual, they go,
Shwing!
swing, swing. Then it became like, as in-jokes do, you know, we were saying it like when someone was saying something that was, you know, remotely not sexual, it became like the inverse, and then it was just sort of anyone saying anything would make us go, swing,
Shwing! Shwing!
just stuck and has almost become its own word.
The name transcended all of that, and it became our brand. So Lewis, Ben, and I decided to take theater at Acadia University, and through that program, we were able to not only get a few locations that we filmed several of the Snake Oil films at, and where we started Shwing Entertainment as an actual brand, but we were able to meet many fantastic actors, several of whom took part in the Snake Oil films. We met Marcus, we met Alin, we met Matt, we met Brian, we met Alex, and all of these people are lifelong friends that we were able to bring with us and helped us bring this universe to life.
The first film I did with Shwing was the third installment of Snake Oil.
We called him up, you want to come act in something for us? And he was game. And that's the biggest thing I could say about Connor Locke, is he is game for anything.
I hadn't done anything film related since grade 12 with you, Lewis. We did a few things in a film class, and I know I did that and realized how much I missed that, how much I should be doing that more, and I don't know, inspired me to work more with you guys and to be a part of it, and I'm glad that's what came of it.
The big thing that always comes back to me is Connor's character trying to get into Chain Mink's office, and it's clearly another room. It's not outside, and there's just houseplants in front of it, but he plays it so well where he's struggling so hard to push through the greenery, and finally he stumbles his way in.
It was the first time I met Johnny, and that was also insane that we had just met, and then we filmed that, and it looked like we had known each other for years.
I really love any quote from Chain Mink. When Johnny came in and did that role, his first time ever acting in a Shwing Entertainment production, he was just iconic. And half of those lines were improv.
Details, boy. I did this for style, not pleasure.
Something that I learned was that Elijah can edit like a madman, and he can take half decent quality footage and make it quite seamlessly look like a half decent production.
Everything started with me editing. Even before I was actually directing, I was editing stuff.
Personally, I learned that like we have the technology, we have the capabilities to push ourselves a little further than maybe what people would expect of a short film YouTube channel.
Back in the early days of Shwing, I was the only person behind the camera. It was a one-man crew, and then whoever we had available in front of the camera. I developed a very distinct style. It was very shaky. I had a lot of whip zooms. Clearly I was watching a lot of The Office at that point, but it became kind of iconic, and it became our thing, and we really enjoyed it. Looking back on it, not that great, kind of gives you some motion sickness, but at the time we had fun with it, and I thought it gave a lot of kinetic energy to our films, and it really encapsulated that guerrilla style filmmaking. When we shot the project, that is the biggest thing we filmed, aside from Wayne River, but that was over a 2-year period, just because that was when we could get together on weekends. It was literally when we could do it. That's why it took us so long. It's very difficult, especially when you don't have a budget and you're just relying on your friends, and when people can make the time to make that stuff. But doing a feature, it just takes more work. Every day we had to go out there and use the blood pipe that we patented, where Lewis would get a mouthful of fake blood in a big ass tube and launch it at the side of Connor's face. And Connor never complained about it.
That sucked, but besides that, it was pretty fun.
When you think of an idea and it's maybe a little bigger, maybe the scene or the scale of the film or whatever, when it's bigger than what people think you're capable of, even yourself thinking you're capable of, and you attempt to do it, great things can happen. The example that I would cite would be the ripping of the head.
And the head ripping off scene will also forever be one of my top, because the fact that we pulled that off with nothing pretty much, and it actually looks pretty freaking sick.
On paper and in theory, we probably shouldn't, even at this point, be able to do logistically, and yet it looks pretty good. The biggest thing that I wanted to do with this side of the Wayne River was to tell a much longer story with a lot of different characters, a lot of different moving parts, and I wanted to use Abe O'Leary because you saw him for about 5 minutes the last time, and then he gets shot in the face twice. So you don't know a lot about him, so he was a decent character to take and expand without like the limitations of the other snake oil characters that are a little more rigid in their roles within the saga. It was interesting to take Abe O'Leary and Wesley Burns, who was an original character in that film, and follow them not being tied down to any larger plot points, and still have that story dovetail and end right before the first snake oil starts.
The first episode of this side of the Wayne River that we filmed, me and Ryan had a fight scene on the ice, and I ended up falling and smacking my elbow midway through filming. Kept filming the rest of the day, more fight scenes. I got home and my elbow was like 3 times its size. That was fun. Swelling went down, probably a bit of permanent damage, but all worth it in the end.
Lewis, of course, it's incredible to see him turn this caricature of a character that is East Clintwood, who's literally a caricature of Clint Eastwood, and how he's able to transform that character into Clintwood, like this mysterious, more serious character, while still sort of doing the voice and still doing the, it's like, oh, like he still brings that into that serious character and somehow makes it work. And I know Lewis, more than anything, loves these characters and loves this world, so he's willing, no matter what it took, to bring that character to life.
The dialogue between Snake Oil and Abe O'Leary on that beach is the climax of this side of the Wayne River, and it really sort of boils down what the essence and the story of Snake Oil is. It's the family and it's the characters around it that are like caught up in it and at odds.
So when we started filming that more, it was like, okay, now like I'm Abe O'Leary. Like what, like instead of just like, oh, I'm Connor Rock trying to do this person, it was I could get more in the space of, okay, I'm Abe O'Leary. How's Abe O'Leary gonna do this? Seeing
Connor's progression just in the character of Abe O'Leary from the first time over those 2 years, doing the project and the pregame in between that, it's amazing to see him actually become that character and understand he's not Connor playing Abe O'Leary anymore. He is Abe O'Leary.
Matt did a great job playing 2 different characters. He has the range to go to the evil, maniacal character, back to the squared off deputy.
I think Ben's performance in Wayne River Part 7, that whole, when he comes back and finally is in full-blown snake oil mode, it's pretty legendary.
I went from this rough and tumble cowboy to some sadistic, maniacal killer. I smile normally and nervously quite often, so I found when I was in a difficult acting situation where I wasn't quite confident with the direction I was taking the character, I just naturally smiled. It was cool for it to all come full circle at the end of that series and see as much bravado and coolness that Snake Oil can bring. In the end, he's a coward.
It's interesting watching the early Snake Oil films, even just early Wayne River to end of Wayne River, because that was over a 2-year period. At the beginning, I still had that very shaky, whippy style of shooting, and then by the end of it, it was totally different. Like, it was long, smooth takes, and we like genuinely thought through a lot of the stuff. So it's really interesting, even over that one series, to see how our filmmaking improved and progressed. Before and after going to film school, I'm like, oh, there's small moments in there that I would have adjusted, but even to this day, I think it holds up really, really well.
Maybe a year or so after the first snake oil, we started doing sketches, mainly as a way to just sort of keep ourselves occupied and scratch the itch of making films and throw in the actors that we knew from Acadia into them. And I don't think it was really a sort of a driving point of going, we want to make sketches until we made We're Sorry, which is, I mean, a very Monty Python-esque mash of all these different crazy sketches. And I think when I made that, I was like, oh, I want to do this live. I want to make something like this live where it's just mad. It doesn't make any sense unless you watch the whole thing, and it's almost only funny to us because we're laughing at the audience, which maybe isn't the right thing to do, but I think it's funny, so I don't really care. The very first person that I ever met in Canada that I'm still in contact with was Ben. Ben has a big history of theater as well, and to be able to do a live show with him and Elijah was great. And then Connor hadn't done any live things, I don't think.
I'd done live performing, like singing, the Mr. Lockview, but again, that was years before. And so being able to do that was kind of good to shake that off almost, right? Because I feel like that was something nagging at me. I'm like, okay, I haven't ever done that. Oh, you guys had done it, right? So it's like, I felt like I was almost like missing that aspect of it.
To make him the main character and just to see him sort of take the reins and be able to pull that off in a style of show that I've been wanting to do forever was quite satisfying.
The history of stolen art, with like all of us a part of it, the craziness of it, you know, Ben being in the audience, you being this crazy security, me being this psycho artist, I just feel like it played on our strengths, and it was a really great show.
I think I'd like to do a lot more live shows and in that format, in the sketch format. But I think the film future of Shwing has become the short film, whether that's comedic or drama or whatever. I think we've sort of really honed in on our ability to make a short film and make them very well.
We've all kind of slid into specific roles as a team, like Lewis writes, I direct, Connor produces, and then they act, and I usually take a back seat behind the camera.
The group hasn't really expanded beyond a handful of people. The way it's grown is more what it means to us and what it means to our circle and a sort of larger group of viewers. It's grown into a group that entertains.
For the rest of my life, the most important moment of our filmmaking career will be when we won first place for Growing Pains.
We won our first 48-hour film competition.
That was the first time, as a team, as a collective, Shwing Entertainment, we were like, oh, we're not messing around anymore. We can actually do this. We cleaned up the awards at the 48 and we got to go to LA. Our film got aired with hundreds of films from hundreds of countries around the world. Since then, we've won 3 other 48s. We got shouted out on the Russo brothers Instagram. And then most recently, my personal favorite film we've ever done, My Friend Gordon, which we won for the 2025 48-hour film competition. And that one we're gonna be going to Lisbon in a couple months for. A huge part of that was expanding our team. We brought Justin on board as our DOP. We brought Matthew on board doing some lighting. Bringing on these new assets to our team has elevated our film way past Wayne River. We have some wonderful equipment. We have access to several more brilliant minds that are bringing our content up to the next level. And I'm so excited to see what's next.
And what about snake oil?
Oh, I'd love to do it forever.
I don't know, snake oil is kind of like our firstborn. We created Shwing for snake oil. And over the years, it's been 10 years, and we've moved on to so many different projects. We've done live shows, we've done serious films, we've done like so many comedy sketches.
Even on the worst days, it's still the most fun days when you look back at it. You never take that stuff home, and if you do, it's it's fun, it's the memories of it. So I hope that we can just continue to do this forever.
It would be cool to wrap up the loose ends we have, to see kind of what the ending of that story would look like.
It's the spirit of what Shwing is. It's just passionate people, passionate about making films and doing what we love. And we've always come back to that.
It is coming to a point where we have the capabilities to tell one or several high quality films that wrap up the story and leave a saga with varying degrees of quality, but and end it on a high note and be happy to say goodbye to these characters in a very meaningful way.
On our way to catch the bounty, dead or alive, it doesn't matter, we cry. On our way to catch the bounty, dead or alive, it doesn't matter, we cry. As long as we get the bounty, as long as we get the bounty.